All right, hey guys, we're back. This is MTFU podcast number 11. Today we're going to talk about discipline in training life in general. I'm here with my friend, my partner in crime when it comes to life and business, Mark Ziolkowski. He's going to talk to you a little bit about his life, some things, issues he's had with discipline, some triumphs, some tribulations, and get some insight from somebody who's done a lot of different cool shit and has been a successful man up until this point in life. What's up, Mark?
Hey, Rob. What's happening?
Not much. So we're going to talk a little bit about discipline today. We had a little chat beforehand, and we can easily go off on a tangent ourselves talking about shit because we tend to have some deep conversations, which is cool. But I think the people who have commented on the email I sent out about discipline wanted to hear more, about tactics and things to promote that aspect of their lives. So discipline. What we looked up. You looked up the definition of discipline. What you want to read that real quick and what?
Yeah, there's a lot of different definitions for discipline, of course. And every time somebody hears discipline, you think different aspects of that word. Discipline in your child, is it something to do with punishment, or does it have to do with a disciple who are following a certain philosophy? But the best definition that I found is this one here. It's successconscious.com. That's where I got it from. It's the ability to reject immediate satisfaction, pleasure, or comfort in order to gain something better, even if it requires effort and time to gain. So I think that encapsulates the definition of discipline for me. Anyway, as opposed to some of the other definitions, and once again, there's a wide range and variety of definitions. But for our intents and purposes, I think that covers it quite well.
All right. So we talked about self-control, commitment. I asked you what was one of the things that stood out to you in your life as far as kind of clicking as far as being disciplined and what that meant. So you want to rehash that story?
Yeah, just to give you a little background, some of the things that I was born in a small town, coal mining town in Pennsylvania, Nanticoke, Pennsylvania. I was one of the youngest of 5 children, so I was kind of spoiled, kind of babied, much to the chagrin of my brothers and sisters, and I really didn't have a good foundation for discipline. I played football. I played baseball. I went to Bloomsburg State University to play baseball. And, I didn't have the discipline to get up in the morning and get to class, or, even in the afternoon for that matter, to get up and get to class, depending on how late I was out the night before. And it just wasn't important to me. I wasn't paying any school bills. My family was covering it. Scholarships that were covering part of my freight, if you will. And one day that really sticks with me, and just to epitomize the lack of discipline that I had, was my dad, who was older. My dad was 48 when I was born. He was born in 1919. You guys can do the math, figure out how old I am now. But he came down to visit. Our football team was doing rather well that year, and I had gone out the night before. Didn't usually stay on campus for the weekend. I would typically go home because it was suitcase college, and went to see my friends about 45 minutes down the road. But my father wanted to come and spend some time with me, and he took the drive down 45 minutes. It was a pretty big gain. He got to my dorm, and I was just out. I was just probably reeked from the night before, and just a typical freshman. I had probably had way too much to drink the night before, and it was more comfortable for me to stay in bed than it was to get up and go with my father and have that father-son relationship and that father-son day. And I look back at that to this day, and it just it chokes me up because I felt that I let my dad down. And after that, I was always interested in the military. So after that, I just said, I need to get some discipline in my life. And as a kid, you think discipline, you think military, whether it's from a from a back in the day when the judge says, well, you know, son, you stole something and you can go to jail or you can go in the infantry. Right. So, and then that led me to the military, where I think that did me a lot of good.
All right, and you were in the military for how long? Here's some background with that.
Yeah, 12 years in the military. Spent most of that 12 years with the 20 Special Forces Group. I was I had gone to airborne school. It was something that I wanted, you know. So just speaking of discipline, it was there was really something that I wanted to do. The first time that I was in, I was a combat medic. I had got honorably discharged. And I tried to get back in after the Gulf One. And I was going to go in the Marine Corps. That didn't work. That didn't work out because there was some issues that with personnel files that got burned in Chicago, but I won't, or St. Louis. I won't bore you with that. But I was with Special Forces, 20 Special Forces out of Maryland. And one day I was playing football and I blew my knee out. Had ACL reconstruction, but I wanted it so bad that I worked. You know, I didn't want to not be in the military. I did not want to be in the Special Forces. So everything, every fiber of my being went towards rehabilitating my knee. And back in the day, ACLs were, they weren't as common as they were now, I guess, from a surgery perspective. It was a little bit more difficult surgery. But I think it was right after 9/11. It was right after 9/11 when I had suffered the knee injury, and I worked really hard. January I was mogul skiing up in Vermont. February I was jumping out airplanes in Fort Benning, and in March I went through selection. Special Forces assessment selection, was selected, and that's. If anybody out there has ever had ACL reconstruction, you know how difficult and long that road is. But I was disciplined to get up every day, go to rehab, and suffer through a grueling rehabilitative process because I had a goal in mind, and that goal was to be a Special Forces officer.
And what'd that do for you for the rest of your life, as far as going through that suffering? Did it make other forms of suffering easier?
Yeah, you know what? You really learn the value.
Oh, you know what? Hold on. I take that back. Not easier, but more tolerable.
More tolerable, yeah. You find that actually your body can do so much more than your mind really thinks. The first thing that's going to quit on you is your mind, right? And to be quite honest with you, it was 28 days of selection, which was it's pretty similar in tempo with Navy SEAL Hell Week. Where there's no sleep. We're sleep deprived. We're moving constantly, carrying a lot of load on our back, 110 pounds on our back, traveling through uneven terrain, long periods of time with nothing but a compass and a map. So you kind of learn how to. I kind of learned how to hit what they call the Ranger switch, which was it's just this little invisible switch on the nape of your neck where you just flip it down and kind of shuts off your mind, and then your body starts to operate on its own. But what I did learn is that I had the discipline to sit down and to actually learn how to conduct land navigation missions and proper route planning, and take my time and choose the right path for me because it was all individually based, which proved very, very, very helpful later on in life when I was actually leading missions and having my team, leading my team through different missions, whether it be exfil points, so on and so forth.
So what? Let me ask you something. What a Ranger switch is a good term. What how much willpower does it take to flick that switch?
Well, it takes a lot of willpower. It takes a lot of suffering. First of all, you get to a point where it's almost the suffering hockey sticks right in the beginning, and then kind of levels out. And when it levels out, you just get comfortable being uncomfortable. I mean, and I think that's the best way that I can put it.
So I can kind of there has to be a term for this, but I haven't figured it out or I haven't seen it yet. But you know, when you're lifting heavy, you're squatting, deadlifting, and you're starting to build up your sets, and you're not really primed up yet, and shit it's feeling heavy and it's lightweight. So you're building up. 135 feels heavy, 185 feels heavy, 225 feels heavy. Then all of a sudden you get to that magic weight where, okay, now things are rocking and rolling and the weights are feeling like they should. You ever have that happen?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's similar to what I was getting at where I was talking about the hockey stick. So if you think about hockey sticking, so you're going up 135s, you're like, holy shit, I'm on the bottom of this steep cliff, and I got to get up the cliff. But once you get up the cliff, and whether it's you're moving, you're running, you're lifting weights, I think that you get to a certain plateau, and then it levels out. Things get a little bit more tolerable, a little bit more easy.
So how much do you think of that as mental, and how much is physical? As far as weightlifting and CrossFit goes, you get the wads going and things get going in the first rounds, like feeling slow because you didn't warm up properly or whatever, or the warm up wasn't conducive to the wad or the weights, whatever. How much of that is mental, you think?
Personally, I think a majority of it is mental. I mean, there's certainly things to be said about proper warm ups, movement, right. Mobilization, activation. Getting warming up those areas of your body that you're going to be utilizing in that particular lift or that particular wad. I mean, extremely important. But I think the first that your body's not the first thing that fails you. Your mind is the thing that's telling you that your body's failing you, or that the weights are heavy.
So going back to that point of getting comfortable being uncomfortable, I think it's our body's natural or our mind's natural reflex is to not get uncomfortable.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? So those initial stages is that mental fight to not get in that uncomfort zone, in that danger zone, and then it gets to a point where I think you just say, hey, it's going to happen whether or not we like it, so it's time to start liking it or being comfortable with it.
And people do. Obviously, people get comfortable with it. And you were talking earlier, and you said you had this conversation with your staff in Long Branch. Saying that, hey, this what shit's not going to get easy. Nothing gets easy, and I forget who said it, but it's still a great line that I think of. Nothing's easy. You just get better at it. So if you get better at doing something, it didn't get any easier. You just got better. And then, and I go back to the self-discipline definition, and it's exactly what we're talking about, right? It's the ability to reject immediate satisfaction, pleasure, or comfort. And that's the first thing our minds are going to gravitate to. We're pretty pampered as a society. It's not like we're not like somebody's putting a loincloth on us and throwing us in the woods and we got to fight saber-toothed tigers off or anything like that. Right. We're very comfortable in the way that we live, and that doesn't necessarily get the job done.
Right.
Being comfortable.
Yeah. All right. Good stuff. And then we talked briefly about paying taxes. I mean, about it's something you got to do, or else you pay the consequences and penalties and late fees and all that shit, and that directly equates to being disciplined in any endeavor. If you don't pay your fair share, earn your stripes, you're not going to get the prize at the end, and which is in taxes. Is not paying penalties is the prize, and not being audited by the government. But what other things can you think about as far as paying your taxes, paying your dues? Can some insight for people that maybe expect too much too quick?
And once again, we talked about this earlier too. It's like there's different exercises that you can conduct on a daily basis, small little things that take you out of your comfort zone. You want to come home, and everybody's been through this. You want to come home and or in the morning, depending upon whether you train in the morning, you train after work. A lot of times, if I could train after work, and I was bodybuilding when I was younger, and I was doing construction, and last thing you want to do when you're hucking wood around, and I thought my name was Get Wood for a long time. That's all I did was get wood, and after I'm hucking around all this decking and everything else that you can imagine. Last thing you want to do is just go grab a barbell and start throwing weights around.
Good.
But you've got to be disciplined. To me, it was the easy, comfortable thing for me to do would be sit down and watch TV or have dinner and just say, I'm going to sit down for a second. But that's where that self-discipline comes in and say, you know what, I got to get this done. Let me just get it done. And it's uncomfortable right now, but I'm going to do it. And I've never had any regrets. That I never drove home from the gym going, wow, man, I really regret that I didn't sit on that lazy boy or lay down on the couch. It's always like, wow, I feel great. I'm glad I did that. I'm glad I didn't sit on the couch. Even this morning, I was thinking about things that we do that it's just create it's procrastinating, and it was as simple as having a cup of coffee and leaving the cup in the sink and turning around and walking away. And I walked like 3 feet away. I was like, boy, that's not very disciplined. I'm going to just leave that there. I'm going to procrastinate and maybe get to it later. Why don't I take just 40 seconds, put some water, some soap, and wash the dish and put the dish in put the dish away. And that's what I did. And it's those little things like that is what we need to practice. And those are exercises for our self-discipline. Think of it as a muscle. You have to, if you want to train your legs, you're not going to squat. You're going to do box jumps are going to change are going to affect your legs. You're going to do lunges, so on and so forth. I mean, there's so many different exercises you can do. You can hit them from all different angles. And I think self-discipline is like a muscle, and you can hit it from different angles. Just things like that, where you're just going to decide to clean the coffee cup, or you decide not to sit on the couch, and you decide not to have that cookie or that ice cream cone. All that stuff is going to build that self-discipline muscle, where it doesn't get any easier. But you just get used to it, You just get accustomed to it, and I think that once you start taking those steps to flex and build that muscle of self-discipline, everything else in your life should be easy. It should not be easier. Should be more easy to deal with, as opposed to being easy. More like what did you say? It's easier to endure. That's the word we were looking for.
So, did you think the 80-20 principle plays a part with with discipline? Because I was just thinking as you were talking about, the 20% of the effort yields 80% of the results. You think about, a workout. You get an hour-long workout. The first 15 minutes is the hardest part. And once you get through that, you're already in the kind of cruise zone. Does that make sense? It's kind of like the hockey stick.
No, that makes sense. Yeah. I just it just should become it's a struggle. Like, I mean, life isn't easy. It's a struggle, but it should be fun. I mean, so I think that it's the.
How do you make it fun?
How do you make it fun? Well, I mean,
I've been reading recently a lot about game theory and a lot of things about making things into games in order to make it more fun, essentially. How is what's something you've done that you kind of made into a game for yourself?
Well, I pretty much just bust everybody's chops, and I have fun, so I laugh. I've developed over time what they call like a tombstone humor. So the more things suck, the more I want to look at it a little bit from a comical perspective, and laugh at it, right? I mean, but there's times where you're going to get to that tipping point, and like the time when we were on the beach and at the Go Rush.
I was just gonna fucking say this. I was gonna say that you were laughing about paying to do this when you used to get paid to do it, and then at the end of it, that wore thin though.
Yeah, it did work. Because at the end of the day, you whatever you're doing, you want to have a long-term goal. We were talking about that before. Like, what's your goal in fitness? Your goal in fitness is to, is it just to go to, DJs or Jenkinson's and, wear a cut-off sleeve shirt, or I don't know, and jump around on the dance floor just to show you could show your abs. And that's not I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but that's kind of a short-term goal, and that's good to focus on. But what's the long-term? What's the long-term goal? What's long-term why? And with respect to that, I just couldn't wrap my head around why we were doing it. I had a little bit more expectations, not putting that organization down, because it's founded by a Green Beret. It was more. I was expecting more. I was expecting a little bit more leadership, kind of situations and scenarios that we were going to learn and try to. But to me, it was a kick in the dick. The entire 12 and a half hours. And when you're at the 12th hour, and some guy's making fun of some other guys on the beach, and then you're becoming sugar cookies and doing surf PT. Yeah. It just, I just got to my tipping point.
That was funny. Quit. You scared the shit out of that kid.
I didn't quit. I just cursed really loudly. Yeah. And I think the answer was whatever gets you through it. So, but in retrospect, it was fun. But once again, even lifting weights, when you're lifting weights and you're grinding, like that's like your kind of mantra in Long Branch. There's a reward for you. Whether that reward is to get stronger, whether that reward is to overcome some mental barriers that you had because you didn't think you were going to be able to do that pull up. Yeah. Or you never thought you were going to be able to, to complete that snatch, that particular weight, or you never thought you were going to come in under a certain time on a WOD. Those are the things that are rewarding, right? And finding and that's another thing that I do is you always try to find the good. Something good out of what you've done. That's important. And that is important. It's important for the folks who attend our gyms and who go to CrossFit, because if you just say, "Oh, I suck at this, and I'm not doing," you're not going to be disciplined. You're not going to build that self-discipline to come back and get back on the horse the next day. So, hey, you know what? I had a plan. I had a plan. I wanted to do this unbroken, but I want to do that unbroken. But and at the end, you look back and you say, well, I only did this. I only did the pull-ups unbroken. I wasn't able to do the cleans unbroken. But hey, you know what? Okay, I'm almost there. I got 50%. I got 50% of that completed. I'm going to work a little bit more on my muscle endurance so I can complete that. Then I'll try it again another time. But always walking away with something positive is how I make it fun, and how that builds self-discipline, because now it's like, hey, that sucked, but it was really, but it was also really good, and I'm going to come back and do this tomorrow.
I think that's the thing that people who don't necessarily do CrossFit don't understand about it. A lot of times it kind of forces you to find the good, because some of the workouts are so hard and so grueling, and you persevere through them and finish them to the complete and utter doubt of yourself. Like the whole time you're moving, you're saying there's no way I can finish this. I mean, I've had people cry, and myself personally, you have hard workouts, and there's always that voice of doubt, right, that pops up, and you defeat that voice. And I think that's why it's pretty easy to find good in it for most. Then you get sometimes some people, you get a workout that didn't go your way and you can't find a good in it.
Well, I mean, once again, that's the.
Is that too high expectations?
Maybe. I think that you can always find something good out of a workout, unless you tear your rotator cuff, or I mean. And even then, it's kind of like the Edison principle. You did 30 pull-ups and you tore your rotator cuff. Well, guess what? You learned 30 different ways how not to do a pull-up.
Right.
I mean, injuries happen. I've suffered plenty of them in my lifetime, but you're going to get knocked down, and I think that even, to your point, there may be a workout that you can't find good at. You just say, hey man, that was just not my day. It just sucked. That just wasn't my
Right.
day. But you have backfilled a whole, closet full of good days that you had. So that one day shouldn't overtake all the good days that you had. And I think that while you're doing that, you're building that self-confidence muscle, and it's going to that self-confidence muscle is going to win over your mind saying, hey, this just sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough to, I think, to get through to people a lot of times that there's got to be some good in it somewhere. You got to find it. Some people just, what's a tool to give them, or a tool that you might use that's going to look for good in the really shitty situation, or to not even look at this, to not even focus on the situation, maybe to get past it. Is that being in the present moment? What are your thoughts on that? Because I see a lot of that. I see a lot of the not trying to find any good and just a downer.
Yeah, you know what? I think that's just I think once again that's just having lack of discipline, lack of mental discipline. Sure, I mean, if you're going to just allow that a workout to kind of beat you down, how do you let a workout beat you down? What about the kind of the theory we have about laying on the ground after a WOD? Right? Yeah. It's like that's a pet peeve. Why are you laying down on the ground? That WOD beats you down so bad you have to lay down on the ground and show everybody in the world that doing some pull-ups and cleans and snatches and wall balls, whatever, just that 15 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever it was, beat you down that hard that you have to completely just succumb to the workout where you can't even move and you got to lay down on the ground. I think you stand up, get on your feet, you walk around, you breathe, you feel good about it, you can't live in Suckville and just say, that I'm not going to come back, or I'm not going to do this. You're going to have a miserable time. That's getting back to having fun.
How about? I mean, that also equates over like to diet. You fuck up, you cheat, you have a shitty day, and it just sends people into a spiral of negativity, right? A lot of times.
Hey, I understand that, and recently I've been, struggling, as I've told you this, coming off of the shoulder surgery in 2015, back in 2014, I was ranked 103rd in the world in my age group in CrossFit. I went, I was invited to the Granite Games. I took fifth in the Granite Games. So I had a lot of expectations. But it was a long-term goal of mine, and when I first started in June of 2013, we had a class and said, well, what's your goal? And I said my goal was to get to regionals. I might even said the games, but and everybody laughed. And I said, okay, well, we'll just see about that. So I focused, I trained, but after the Granite Games in 2015, I tore my left rotator cuff and labrum tear. So I immediately went in for surgery to try to get better for the 2016 Open, and I just wasn't ready. I mean, I was okay. I just wasn't at that level to compete. So I didn't compete, and I said, I'll set my sights towards 2017. After I rehabbed 2017, January comes around, I was doing box jumps, and my knee started. I've had post ACL 2 knees. My knee started locking up. Went to the doctor. The doctor said, well, you've got to clean your knee out. You've got loose bodies. Went in, had some problems post-op with a torn sartorius muscle, with a quadricep muscle. And then I said, you know what? I'm still going to compete in the Open, and I did. Certainly didn't do as well as I wanted to, but my knee starts feeling better. And then all of a sudden, my shoulder got tweaked, and I think it was the snatch. It was the snatch workout. Was that 14 or 4? 17-4?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the snatch workout, I was like, damn, my shoulder, something wrong with my shoulder. and I just got I just got a brand new jump rope. I was so excited about, like a little kid. I got a brand new jump rope. Went outside on my deck. I tried to use a jump rope, and I was like, oh shit, my shoulder. I dropped the rope, and my whole right arm was just numb. I said, that can't be good. So I went, got my shoulder, got an MRI on my shoulder, and lo and behold, I got a full thickness tear of my supraspinatus, a rotator cuff muscle on my right side. So, it's like, you want to give up. Like at that point, it's almost like, shit, I'm going to, it's not like I had a couple bad wads. It's like I had a couple bad body parts. And, okay, now this is 6 months, but I'm trying to stay focused. I'm trying to find ways that I can train through this.
Why is that?
The good out of it. Well, because I think that first of all, it's part of my life, and it's my long-term goal to be healthy. That's okay. Why is that? I believe I'm disciplined to being healthy because of my daughter that was born about a year ago. I had her a little bit later in life, and she means the world to me, and I want to be able to I want to be able to walk down the aisle with her. I want to be able to dance with her at her wedding. I want to experience all that life has to offer her. I don't want to do that from a wheelchair or from a walker. And I don't want to do it. I certainly don't want to do it from a hospital bed or on from a pine box. Yeah. So that's very important. That's my long term goal. That's what I have to keep focused on.
So your why has shifted.
My why is shifted from just being, I wanted to be whatever I do, it's kind of 250 miles an hour with my hair on fire. So if I'm doing CrossFit, I'm going to do CrossFit, and I'm going to get everything that says CrossFit, and I'm going to buy everything. I'm going to buy a big ass body bag, and I'm going to keep.
By the way, for all you who don't know Mark who are listening, Mark has the biggest duffel bag full of gear ever.
And my motto is if I don't have it, you don't need it, and I probably have two of them. So that's I just immerse myself in the culture and in the business aspect of it, and it was I'm just a kind of an addictive personality, but it made me feel good. I was being healthy. I could have been sitting in a bar spending my money, but I'd rather spend my money on knee sleeves. And it just became second nature. So that self-discipline of going to the gym didn't become. It wasn't like I don't call it working out. I call it training. I'd rather disassociate the word work with going to the gym because it.
Who said that? Pavel, right?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I try it. I have that issue with saying working out. Because it's so ingrained. It's kind of like saying core. I hate that fucking word too, but it just comes out so naturally, you know what I mean? So yeah, I think that's a really good point to not call it working out, because when you're training, there's a reason for it, right? There's something ahead of it.
Well, yeah, it's
purpose driven.
Getting back to the injury. If people are going to suffer, people are going to be uncomfortable, people are going to get nicks and bruises and scratches, but you have to listen. You still have to listen to your body. I don't want to say it's a double-edged sword, but being disciplined doesn't mean being dumb. You say, hey, you know what? I'm not feeling well today, but I need to go to the gym. Well, don't go to the gym and give everybody the flu, or don't go to the gym and tear two rotator cuffs, or cause yourself greater injury. Know your body. Talk to your trainers. Talk to get medical advice and assistance if needed. Otherwise, it's just a bad road. But being disciplined is also saying, hey, you know what? I want to go to the gym today, but I'm just not there. I'm just not healthy. So that's a form of discipline as well. So this isn't all about you got to just bust through the brick wall with your head. Be smart. You have to be intelligent. Be disciplined from a position of intelligence. not from a position of I need to be there. I need to be there. Otherwise, I'm letting myself down. I'm not going to be disciplined. We all need to rest. And we all need to know what our limitations are, and just embrace those limitations. Know what your weaknesses are in all the aspects of life.
And so, what's a good takeaway for knowing your weaknesses, knowing what you're capable of doing, how you're feeling? Like what's something that you could? I mean, I would say journaling would be a good one to kind of journal your workouts and have an idea how you're feeling, sleep wise, etc. What other things would you recommend somebody do to be more in tune?
Well, we had Rob, you and I had gone to the competitors course, and I really liked that red light, green light that they had. And this, I think,
I gotta find that.
Yeah, there was like 8 different questions. How do I feel? Am I tired? Was I hungry? Did I take a leak this morning? What did it look like? Was it, what color was it? Was it brown? Was it clear? Was it yellow? And then each one of those little points gives you either a red light, a yellow light, or a green light. If you have so many red lights, you don't train that day. If you have so many yellow lights, you train, but you kind of take it easy. You're not going to go balls to the wall. But if you got green lights, you go. You hit the gas. So that's one thing, and I just listening to your body. I think that I learned, and I was nervous that I was being a little bit of a hypochondriac with my right shoulder. So I'm like, oh, my left shoulder. And I know what that felt like. I just went to, I didn't immediately go for an MRI. I went and I saw my chiropractor. He does ART, and saw him a few times. He says, I don't know. I think it might be your AC joint. Anyway, long story short, X-rays, MRIs, tear, surgery. Yeah. And that'll happen in July, and hopefully, I'll be ready to hit it again in February next year.
Solid. All right, man. Hey, I think we got some good info on this bad boy. So, on that note, we'll close out. Good talking to you, Mark, as always. And
yeah, man, pleasure.
Keep man the fuck up. Keep doing what you're doing, and we'll certainly get you on again on a regular basis because I think you provide some good insight that in your experiences can help a lot of people out. So,
cool. Love to.